Welcome to day 3 of Breakfast with Bob Boston Marathon Edition. 120th running of the Boston Marathon. We're presented to you by Hyland's Leg Cramps. Stop the cramps, not your race. And the NormaTec Pulse Recovery System. It wouldn't be Boston if we weren't chatting with the legend himself, a man who has a statue on the course with his son Rick, Mr. Dick Hoyt. Dick, how the heck are you?
I'm fine.
Great to have you, man.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you.
Let's get that guy a little closer to you.
Okay.
Yeah, so Dick, being here and not running tomorrow, is that hard for you?
Yes, it is. Well, last year was the first year, but I was the Grand Marshal.
Yeah.
So I get to sit in the car and I go like this for 26.2 miles instead of running. And it was awesome. And they dropped me off, at the beginning of Boylston Street.
Yeah.
And I was able to jog through the crowd, and it was really neat.
That is very cool. So take me back. 1977. Was that the first time that you and Rick did an event together?
Yes, that is the first time that we did an event.
And what led to that?
Well, it was Rick. He asked me to run in a road race with him,
Yeah.
because he was attending a South Middle School out in Westfield, Massachusetts, and his gym teacher got him involved in all the gym activities with all the other children.
Yes.
And he was also the basketball coach at Westfield State College.
Okay.
And he used to take Rick to the basketball games. Well, at one of the basketball games, they made an announcement that one of the lacrosse players from the college was in an accident. He was paralyzed from the waist down. So they're going to have a charity road race to try to help him raise some money to pay his medical bills. Well, Rick came home, he told me all about it, and he said, Dad, I have to do something for him. I want to let him know life goes on even though he's paralyzed. I want to run in the race. And that's how it all got started.
What I love is if a parent has a child now with any issue, nobody ever says we should institutionalize your son. It's
Right.
like, this is how you deal with it. But when Rick was born, that's basically what you were told, because they really didn't know how to deal with it.
Right. They said, forget Rick, put him away, put him in an institution. He's going to be nothing but a vegetable for the rest of his life. And today, Rick is 54 years old.
Yes.
And we still haven't figured out what kind of vegetable he is.
And not just not a vegetable, graduated college.
Great.
High school,
Graduated from
college.
high school, graduated from Boston University. 2 years ago, he just got the Distinguished Graduate Award from Boston University.
I love that.
And here he is. He's competing in all these races all over.
1,000 races, right?
Yeah.
Over 1,000 races
Over
you guys have
1,000.
done.
We've done 1,100 races.
1,100 races, and now he's done more marathons than you.
Yes, he has. Yeah. Yeah.
He owns you now.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
love
it's really neat.
So when you did that first run together, there was just something that a light bulb went on, right? That
Right.
light switch went on where all of a sudden Rick was like, this is a bonding thing for Dad and I, but also I feel great with the wind in my face and just being out here with other people.
Right. Rick said that when he's out there running, it felt like his disability disappeared.
Yeah.
Which was a very powerful message to me, because if you think about it, somebody that's in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
can't talk, can't use his arms and the legs, and now they're out there running, the disability disappears. He called himself Freebird, because now he was free and able to be out there competing and running with everybody else.
Could you see a difference in him from that
yeah.
first run? You just knew.
Oh, it was a big, big difference,
Yeah.
because before, he's watching everything that's going on, but
Right.
he couldn't do anything,
Now, your background was not running. You didn't do a lot of this endurance stuff.
No, I was not a runner at all.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I actually tried out for the Yankees as a catcher.
Really?
Yeah, I was a good baseball and football player. I was
Yeah.
captain of the baseball team, captain of the football
Right.
team, and I played first thing in basketball. And in those days, that's all they had was 3 sports.
Right.
And my problem was I couldn't run fast.
Right.
And run fast, and.
They didn't make it long enough. You needed to make first base needed to be 26 miles away.
Well, it's just amazing to us the speed that we've been able to do in these races. I never thought we'd be running. I never even thought we'd be running marathons and everything else.
Yeah, because you basically had to become a runner. So the good news is you found something that Ricky loves.
That's right. Yeah.
The bad news was you needed to become a runner.
That's right. Yeah, but actually it was good news, because I ended up having a heart attack. And Rick and I were running in 2003.
Yeah.
And the doctor told me that if I wasn't in the shape that I was in, I would have died 15 years ago.
Wow.
Because I had a serious cholesterol problem, and it was hereditary.
That you didn't know about.
No, I had
No
idea.
idea. No idea.
No, and I didn't even know we had a heart attack when I was running.
So do you remember your first Boston with Rick?
Oh, yeah, we'll never forget it. Yeah.
What year was that?
That was 1981.
And you're running Boston, and obviously you're from this area, so that had to be really special.
It was really special, yeah. For us to be able to run the Boston Marathon, it was just unbelievable.
Especially for a kid whose first words were "Go Bruins."
Go Bruins. Yeah.
I love that. So, how many times did you guys run Boston together?
We've run Boston 32 times together. And
Wow.
last year I was the Grand Marshal, and Brian Lyons pushed Rick last year. So now he's ahead of me. So
What was your fastest time with Rick here?
in Boston was 2:45.
2:45.
2:45:23
And your fastest marathon with Rick?
was 2:40.
That's unbelievable.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's one thing when you're pushing Rick and he's he's in your chair, but when you're doing triathlon, right, and you do the swim and he's in a boat,
Right.
But on the bike, you've got somebody who's 150 pounds or something
At
like
the
that.
time when we did Ironman, he was 125 pounds.
So he's 125 pounds,
Yeah.
and on the handlebars
Right.
a lot of the time.
Right.
And your bike, that bike itself was,
Our bike alone weighed 40 pounds.
bike's 40 pounds,
Yeah.
125 pounds, and I'm sure there's some stuff that Rick is, you're carrying extra food and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
How hard was that in the winds when you're doing something like the Ironman?
It was very difficult because everybody thought that the hardest part for the triathlon was swimming, pulling him a boat.
Yeah.
But people don't realize it when you tell them you weigh 400 pounds when you're out there biking.
It is 400,
A total of
right?
400.
Yeah, that's right. With
him,
you?
and the bike.
You
Yeah.
hit like 400 pounds riding up the Havi. So now you got guys whining about the wind heading up the Havi who are on a 21-pound bike, and they weigh
That's
150 pounds.
Yeah, because when we were going downhill, I have to pedal. 'Cause
Right.
He's sitting up in front. It's like
He's a
having
wind
sheet
block.
of-
You had a
sheet of
huge
plywood
wind
in
block.
front of you. And all these other guys going 35, 40 miles an hour down the hills, and I'm pedaling.
So when did you first think of, hey, let's do triathlon with Rick?
Oh, geez, I'm trying to think of what year it was. It was quite a while
Yeah.
ago, but we got involved with Dave McGilfrey.
Yes.
And Dave McGilfrey was the one that brought the triathlons from the West Coast to the East Coast. And he was very good because he just accepted Rick and I.
Right.
And he wanted Rick and I to be there.
Right.
It wasn't like all these other people, oh, no, you can't do this.
So you
can't
heard
do
that a lot when you went to race directors?
Oh, especially, the Boston Marathon, the same thing.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Until McGilvery got involved?
No. This was, they made us qualify at the Boston Marathon. We had to qualify, and at the time, Rick was in his 20s, I was in my 40s. They're using Rick's age for us to qualify.
And what time did you have to run the qualifying?
We had to run under 2 hours and 50 minutes to qualify. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
And see, that was their way they thought of getting rid
Okay,
of
well,
us.
they would never have to worry about him.
Huh? Yeah.
They'll never have to deal with you.
They'll never do it. And that's when we went down to the Marine Corps Marathon and ran the 2:45:23.
So it's like, guess who's coming to dinner? Guess what, guys? We qualified. So they had to let you in at that point.
That's right. And then the 100th running of the Boston Marathon, Rick and I were on it as Centennial Heroes by the BAA and their sponsor, John Hancock. So we've come a long way.
Because in the beginning they didn't want you, and then later you become. There's a statue of you guys on the course.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
That's a little different from us not wanting you.
That's right. Yeah. Unbelievable.
So then Dave McGilvery, we did Ironman together back in 1980. There's only 108 of us. So we go back a lot of years, and Dave's always been one of those inclusive type of guys.
Right.
So when you guys decided to come to Kona for the first time, were you accepted right away, or was there a problem? Any issues?
At first there was, and then Dave helped us out and he talked to them and all that.
Yes.
But we didn't have as much problem getting into the Ironman as we did
Your own backyard Boston Marathon.
Right.
And you think about it, triathlon with a 400-pound bike and pulling a guy in the water could be considered a little more of a problem than just running and pushing a baby jogger type of thing.
Right. Well, actually, Rick is still the first and only person in the world to ever compete and complete the Ironman triathlon. And because of his efforts now, they have a physically challenged
Yes, they do.
division out there.
He was the first physically challenged athlete,
Right.
even before we had amputees and before we had wheelchair athletes. You're
Right.
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 Our first wheelchair athlete didn't come till 94.
Yeah.
So one of the piece on you that Lisa Lax created as part of Ironman has probably been seen by millions of people now.
Yes.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was just every aspect of the way it was filmed, from you guys going for a training run to Rick talking on his computer
Right.
and him smiling at the end of that.
big
I mean,
smile.
it's something. How often do people recognize you now just from just from being at races, but also just that Ironman video.
It's just unbelievable. Because I was told that Ironman video, it's called I Can Only Imagine, has sold more copies than any other DVD the Ironman has had.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, it has. And now we want it all over the world. People contact us. Other countries want us more than the United States does now.
I bet, like in China and other parts of the world.
Right, and some of them have done movies about us, and we didn't even know it.
That is so wild. So what was that first? Was the first Ironman experience 88? Was that the one where you ended up dropping out that year?
Yes, yeah, that was the year that we went out there, and I drank a replacement fluid. And you're not supposed to drink a replacement fluid unless you're through competing or you're resting, is what I was told.
You drink it beforehand.
And what happened was we were having a great swim. We got around the turnaround point. We started coming in, and all of a sudden I was paralyzed.
You couldn't move?
I couldn't move. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't move my legs, so I'm trying to go like this.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the time expired, so they had to pull us out of the water.
Wow. And then were they open to you coming back the following year and trying?
Yeah.
So then 89, you come back and you finish it.
Yes. Right.
What was that feeling like?
Oh, that was unbelievable.
Coming down Elite Drive, just knowing that you were going to finish it. Rick was going nuts, loving every second of it.
Yeah, matter of fact, I love that video of us going across the finish
line. With the champagne.
And some of the pros say, Grace, you're running faster than we were.
Totally.
Yeah, that last 2 miles, we were flying.
Now you said 2:40 was your fastest time as just running. In terms of triathlon, do you guys remember times at all?
Yeah, it was a little over 13 hours. 13
hours?
Yeah.
And I bet you your marathon was pretty darn good.
I was surprised that we ran the marathon as fast as
How fast did you run it?
It was 3 hours and 30 minutes.
So you ran a 3 hour and 30 marathon after pulling Rick in basically a 400 pounds of people and bike, and pulling Rick in the water. And I saw people hanging out of the back of that raft.
Oh,
you weren't just pulling Ricky.
Yeah.
It was some swimmers who you pulled through 2.4 miles as well.
That's amazing.
I love that.
It does happen, yeah.
So then you finished that first Ironman. You've done how many Ironmans now?
Ooh.
Well, let's see. I think I've got that. 6 Ironmans.
Six Ironmans, yes.
Yeah. And then 92, you guys decide in 45 days you're going to do 3,735 miles of cycling and running.
Running across the United States.
Across the United States.
Yeah.
You started where?
We started in Santa Monica Pier in L.A. and then ended up at Marion Wharf in Boston.
Yes.
And it was 3,770 miles.
How special was that?
That was very special, and it was going to be more special because Ronald Reagan was going to start it off. But that's when he started coming down with Alzheimer's, so he wasn't able to do it. Yeah.
But just the number of people you must have touched during that ride and run, because now it's not on a race day. People can come out and actually spend time with you.
Yeah. That was awesome. That was unbelievable. People don't realize what a beautiful country we live in, and we saw it, step by step and up these mountains. And there's rattlesnakes out there in the roads, and all the different types of vegetation, and all the different animals that you run across. It's just unbelievable.
And also, you get to be up close and personal with just regular, everyday John Q. Public who hears you're coming. Now, this is 92. Obviously, you don't have the viral world where people can go, hey, Dick's going to be here at certain times.
Right.
But I bet you still had people meeting you along the way.
Yes, we did. Well, actually, we wanted to run for United Cerebral Palsy.
Yes.
But they turned us down. They says, no, it's not a moneymaker, So
We've dealt with some short-sighted people throughout the years.
Oh,
yeah. Boston didn't want you. Ironman was concerned. And cerebral palsy's, we don't want you guys.
Yeah. But we went out, and what we did, we started the Hoyt Foundation.
Yes.
Because they didn't want us. Cerebral palsy, not even.
So you could have been part of that.
We had a big bank that was going to give us 3 people to come with us, and they'd go like a day or 2 days ahead of us to publicize we're coming, and they were going to give us money up front.
Yes.
And all of a sudden they got a new president in. He was a younger guy, and he stopped all of it together. So I had to remortgage my house to get the money to get started.
So because you had already committed to doing this, you were like going to do it.
Yeah.
Wow, how scary was that?
Didn't bother me.
Didn't bother you?
No.
Yeah, you've never seemed like a guy where the money part is an aspect.
Right.
You do this because of Ricky and because it's in your heart, and I can relate. Cause you sometimes just know the right things to do. You know the right things to do.
Well, that's like when the doctor said, "Forget him, put him in an institution. He's gonna be nothing but a vegetable for the rest of his life." And we said, "No, we're taking him home. We're gonna bring him up like anybody else."
So now you are traveling the world speaking.
Right, yeah.
How many speeches are you doing a year?
Oh, there was one year we did 100 and I think it was 113.
113
and we
in 1 year.
turned down 200. Yeah.
So your life is busier now than it's ever been.
Yes, it really is. Yeah. Yeah.
And Rick is doing what now? When he's not out racing.
Well, Rick, he's independent and he lives all by himself.
Yeah.
And he does speaking engagements on his own.
On his own?
On his own, yeah. He goes to schools and stuff, and he comes with me. And when he comes with me, he does the first 15 minutes of the presentation. And he's very good, He's got people laughing. He's got them crying. It's unbelievable. And he just loves to be out in front of people. He's a big ham.
I know he's a big ham.
Yeah.
So when was it Tufts University that created that was the groundbreaker, right? Because that didn't just lead to Rick being able to communicate; it led to so many other kids and adults being able to communicate. Talk a little bit about that, just the creation of that, because that was a visionary moment when somebody came up with that machine, where someone who couldn't talk could now talk.
Well, see, that's the big thing. We wanted to get Rick into public school. We didn't want him going to a private school or anything else. We wanted him in a school with everybody else. And they said, no, he doesn't understand. He won't be able to
You've
learn.
heard a lot of no's.
Yeah. So what we did, we taught him the alphabet and the numbers, and we did a lot of reading with him,
Right.
And then that's when they turned him down. But then we went and met some engineers from Tufts University in Boston, and we talked to them.
Yes.
And they said the same thing, that he wouldn't be able to learn. So we told them to tell Rick a joke. They told Rick a joke, and Rick cracked up laughing.
Yes.
And they said, wow, maybe there is something there. So they said, if you get us $5,000, we'll build a communicating device for
Really?
Rick. Yeah. And you got to remember, this was 45 years ago, and $5,000 was a lot of money.
That was basically $50,000.
Yeah.
At least.
But we raised the money, and we had this computer built, and it was called Tufts Interactive Communicator.
Right.
And it's funny because the engineers were coming to a house, and everybody's saying, well, what's Rick's first words going to be? And naturally his mother's saying, it's going to be, hi, Mom. And me to Dad, no, it's going to be, hi, Dad.
Right.
Well, the Boston Bruins were going for the Stanley Cup. The very first words he ever said was, go Bruins.
When you saw him type out "Go Bruins," what was going through your mind?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And he started laughing because he knew he tricked us. Yeah.
He knew what you wanted.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so when you look back on all the races, obviously the first one where the people thought you were going to run to the end of the block and back, and you ended up doing the whole thing.
Right.
And then the first Boston, and then going 2:45 here. Is there one race that sticks out more than another that meant the most to you?
Well, I really feel it was the Boston Marathon, because people didn't see anybody like us before.
Right.
And we're running the Boston Marathon, and everybody's saying, what is this? Yeah. It was just amazing. And now how they accept us.
Yes.
The last 7 years.
All of a sudden it's a love in.
And what they're saying is, Team Hoyt, you guys are the Boston Marathon. It's no longer the elite runners and the people that win it.
It's about, you've sort of changed that, because it was all about who's going to win the race, and now it's the human interest stories which become the focal point of this race and the coverage, and that started with you and Rick.
That's right, yeah.
Love it. So the other thing is the growth of Team Hoyt. I see more and more people out there, fast people, pushing their kids,
real
right?
fast, yeah.
You have to be proud that all of a sudden you've got kids, you've got grandkids, now you've got Team Hoyt, which is following in your footsteps.
Right, yeah.
Talk a little bit about how that come about.
It's just amazing, because Rick and I were running and stuff, and we'd go to different towns and cities and run, and people saw us. And actually, the first time it happened was in Virginia Beach.
Yes.
And we went down there, we were running the rock and roll marathons down there. And people saw us. And these people, they had children who were physically challenged. And they said, wow, can we do this?
Yes.
And they did. And now
it's all over the place.
Down in Virginia Beach, they're probably over 3,000 strong. And now you got Team
San
Hoyt, San Diego.
I love those guys.
We got Team Hoyt, Arizona.
You've got like a signature Team Hoyt vehicle.
Right, yeah.
Pushchair that's specifically.
It's going to get stronger and bigger.
You're taking over the world.
Movement that is going across. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Rick has to be proud of that.
Oh,
because Rick seems like, well, look at the first run he did was for somebody else.
Right.
He wasn't worried about himself. He wanted to help somebody else.
Right.
So when he's seeing all these other kids out there,
Yeah.
he must just get so emotional about that.
He does. Yeah, he really does. It's
Love it.
amazing. You know, and I feel within a year or two, there's going to be certain races that you're not going to be able to run in unless you're pushing somebody that's physically challenged.
Oh, some specific
Yeah.
Dick and Rick Hoyt events.
I think so. Yeah.
Ah.
Like
Love-
San Diego will
Yes.
have theirs, you know.
Yes, they do.
And all these other states will be having these races.
That is so cool.
It really is.
So, Ironman Hall of Fame, I'm sure Boston Hall of Fame. How many different Hall of Fames are you in now?
Well, we're in
Oh,
the
our
Marine
yeah.
Corps Marathon
Marine
Hall
Corps.
of Fame.
How many times you done that one?
Oh, well, you know, I was in the military.
Yes.
And Rick and I used to run for the military teams.
Right.
Yeah. And we won a lot of races, you know. And it was just awesome
Love that.
to be able to run in all these other states as a military person. Because I had 35 years in the military, you know.
I think the first time I met you was '88, and I was at the Ironman. And it's like people think of Ricky as at that time as some 12-year-old, and it's like Rick was in his 20s, and
Right.
so the bonding experience between you and Rick traveling the world had to make you guys so much closer than most fathers and sons.
Oh, it really did. Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
And so any special, like on race day, when you're out there in Kona, and I'm constantly thinking, one, Dick's got to worry about hydration for himself. He's got to worry about eating for himself. Plus, he's got to keep Ricky from frying up. He's got to get sunscreen on the kid.
Right.
Plus, he's got to feed, got to do all the nutrition things. How hard was all of that? Because it's not like a marathon, like you said, 240, 245. You're out there for 13 hours.
That's right. Yeah, I'll have to tell you about the first
Yeah.
time out in Kona. We're out there biking, and all of a sudden there was a helicopter
Yeah.
coming up, and they coming down, and they're focusing on us. And I had some Gatorade in my hand. I'm going around. I'm giving Rick a drink of Gatorade.
Yeah.
And it went all over him, so he had to sit with Gatorade all over him while we finished the bike and the whole run.
The whole run, too.
The whole run too.
So he had like sticky stuff on him the whole time.
It was unreal.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dick, it is always an honor to get to
thank you.
chat with you.
It's great to
what
chat
you've
with you.
done for the world of endurance. People sitting at home watch you guys and realize if he can do it, I can do it. And that's what we all want.
That's exactly.
And my favorite was when you came out to our Challenge Athletes event, San Diego Triathlon Challenge.
Yeah.
And the one thing you forgot was the valves for the boat. Remember that?
Yes.
So that
Right.
morning, we're down at La Jolla Cove, and it's like, we can't pump up Dick's boat. And I remember our staff running and knocking on people's doors at 6 in the morning.
Exactly.
You have a boat?
Yeah.
And we found a boat.
Yes.
And then remember how big the waves were?
Oh yeah.
It was like 10-foot swells.
Yeah.
So we couldn't even bring you guys back into the cove. We had to take you all the way to the shores.
Back to the shores again.
love that.
That was awesome. Yeah.
That was really fun.
Well, we've had so many great times throughout our lifetime.
Love
It's
it.
amazing.
Dick Hoyt has been our guest. Dick, have fun out there tomorrow. I know you're going to have problems not racing, but you'll be at the finish with your grandkids?
Yeah, my grandkids, my other two boys.
And Rick will be out there.
Rick will be out there running with Brian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that.
So now he's going to be two Boston Marathons ahead of me.
He's owning you.
Yeah, I know it.
As well he should. Son should always own his dad. That's the way it should be. Again, this is Breakfast with Bob, Boston Marathon edition, day 3. What a better way to start out than with the amazing Mr. Dick Hoyt. Hold on, everybody. We will be right back.